big deal, bringing in almost 670 million plus from SoftBank in the latest funding round. Flipkart raised about $1 billion in its latest funding round. Companies like Urban Ladder, so on and so forth, bringing in investments from the like of Ratan Tata and stuff. So what do you make of the valuations that these companies enjoy?
In new industries, valuations rarely make sense with traditional names. So you have the typical challenge because there is a winner or two that goes on to justify those valuations. But on average, people lose money. So you're going to see that happen here too. I think that some of these valuations may be justified if these companies go on to become dominant players.
Dimple, so we've got Parag Saxena leading towards Rahul Bhasin. Which side are you going to be on as far as the e-commerce and internet story is concerned?
Well, at Omidyar Networks, we are very bullish on the technology sector. Even though we are a part of the social impact investing firm, we have technology, which is one of the biggest pillars that we feel is going to take growth to the next level. And especially India, I think, is well poised for these kind of new businesses which are going to come. Clearly, having the eBay heritage that we do have, we feel that the internet space is definitely going to change the way businesses are going to be. And with the talent available in India, we are very excited. For example, we had actually invested in Quicker very early on.
Yeah.
And that has also attracted a lot of capital, and you've seen how the valuations are formed. But
Healthcart as well.
Healthcart as well, Versace as well. So a couple of other deals, and we continue to see a lot more in which are coming up recently.
Rahul, would you say that 2015 is going to be a year of consolidation, or more consolidation, aggressive consolidation in the e-commerce space?
Yeah, I think a lot of the investor appetite is also shifting from...
And is it going to be investor driven? Because that seems to be the case as far as, for instance, Myntra and Flipkart are concerned.
Sure. There are only a finite number of investors, and I think, in some cases they found that it's better to align than to compete. So, a lot of the horizontal large e-commerce companies are very aggressively trying to cherry pick areas which they don't currently have access to. So, obviously fashion, apparel, home are all spaces that are ripe for some form of consolidation. Because I think, the electronics area and the consumer goods is reasonably well served right now. We are seeing a shift in investor appetite from, pure e-commerce to e-commerce enablement. So you're seeing a lot of the dollars actually flowing to the plumbing behind the e-commerce business.
Right.
So whether it's
the logistics,
loyalty, payments, that continues to be a trend that you're seeing money flow to. And you're also seeing a shift away from product commerce to services commerce. So the Uber of everything, right? And I know that's not a great word at this point.
No, it's not.
But suffice it to say, I think the sharing economy, it seems like that's where the attention is shifting to.
I'm glad you brought up that point, because it was going to be something that we'd address. Of course, Uber is a specific instance at this point in time, unfortunately, because of what's happened. But we are going to be faced with more of this kind of situation where regulation is not keeping pace with innovation, or innovation is far ahead of regulation.
Right. Where does that responsibility lie? I think the job of the private sector is to continue to drive growth, create new opportunity, drive employment. And we do need support from infrastructure. Now, I think, if we go back to some of the big initiatives like the Aadhaar card, could we look at link backs into those products? Because I think, I would imagine that every one of those, say, Uber drivers would also possibly have an Aadhaar card. Can we look at leveraging already some infrastructure that's been created around digital IDs, around, voter cards, things like that. In India, trust is a very difficult thing to earn. It is going to be important. We're seeing services like I'll aggregate plumber, contractor, carpenter, electrician to your house. Are you going to feel comfortable opening the door to somebody that comes in through that kind of shared service? But clearly, in other parts of the world, it's happening everywhere from babysitters to plumbers.
I think this is a case of the market economy being at one generation and the economy for public goods and services being at another generation.
Given the fact that this generation gap isn't going to be something that's being bridged in the next couple of years even, what is the challenge then for entrepreneurs who are looking at this space as opportunities?
It's going
and
to be,
for investors who've put in significant amounts of money?
I think that, the two pieces have to move together. I mean, Aadhaar, for example, the biometric mapping of our population of our size is something incredible. Most societies don't have it. I think it's incumbent on public services to use it now to its fullest extent, and because the reality is that one can talk about background checks, but what actually happens in a background check in this country?
Sure.
I mean, there is no background check, right? It's about greasing the right palms. That's what actually happens. But if you had biometric mapping, and if there was anybody violating any laws of anything, and it's there on his biometric mapping, it becomes very easy for anybody to validate who they're dealing with.
No, I get that. But Dimple, is this going to, in a sense, put the fear of God as far as investors are concerned, who are pumping in significant amounts of money? I mean, Ola has just raised money from SoftBank, for instance. How will investors weigh this now?
Look, it's rather unfortunate that the instance did happen, but at the same time, looking at the flip side of it, these kind of businesses are genuinely adding value to the economy. They're actually changing the way the economy is done. To be honest, in India, our distribution costs are just so high that, a new business model which brings down the distribution costs to reach the consumers, where you're creating value in the hands of the consumers itself, is actually a big point in any case. So, while I'm again saying that we should have the rules and the regulations in place so that unfortunate things of these kind don't happen, but at the same time one should not also forget out the value that has been created by these kind of businesses.
So before we head to 2015, Rahul, let me start by asking you your big moment as far as 2014 is concerned.
The internet economy standpoint, this year has definitely been one where it's tipped over, and I feel like now it's not about is it real or is it not. I think it's only a question of how much do we continue to invest behind it, and so I'm very bullish on I think the next 10 years, not just the next 1 year.
Okay, Dimple, what's been the big moment for you in 2014?
Just continuing on the debt side of it, so we made the big investment in Intelligro, which is providing debt for the VC industry, and I completely agree that if the equity market has to grow, it has to be backed with the availability of debt, which is a bigger problem which we see. It was a big moment for us.
It was a big moment. Rahul, for you, the big moment?
We spent a lot of time thinking of the biggest structural changes in the world, and we feel that synthetic biology and its applications are probably what's going to happen. In some of the programs that we funded in the last year, we've had grants from Wellcome Trust, collaborations with Mayo Clinic, and filings in drugs for diseases which have no cure.
Okay, Parag Saxena, I'm going to wrap it up with you. The big moment for you in 2014?
I think the big moment was actually the election, because that completely changed the perception of the capital markets, and it's given rise to everything that we've talked about. And if we can continue to see that happen, which will have to translate from promises into governance, then we can have a great 2015.
Well, that was the year gone by, 2014, a tipping point as far as the Indian startup scene is concerned, specifically when it comes to the internet-based companies. On that note, it is time for us to wrap up this special episode. We'll see you again next week with the same star cast as we talk about trend spotting in 2015. Till then, from the entire team, goodbye. Thanks for watching. Join us on our Facebook page, on our website, or on Twitter.